concepts of social justice into the curriculum, recruiting students with more diverse backgrounds, or how about allowing students to advocate for their patients? Nancy Anderson is a former UNC surgical resident, and she joins us now. Nancy, thanks so much for joining the program. It seems like they were forced to do this, and they're not revisiting this because of the backlash, but because of, they say the mission is done.
No, the mission isn't done. This report had blatantly racist recommendations in it, including such recommendations that minorities can't sit through lectures. Of course, they put it in their academic word salad. But the problem with diversity, equity, inclusion is that it in itself is explicitly biased and racist, and it rejects meritocracy, which in medicine is a very needed thing. So it's a good first step that UNC admitted that this task force report is not usable, let alone racist and unethical. But the problem is the bureaucracy still exists, and the people responsible for it are still getting paid six figures on public taxpayer money.
You know, Nancy, how did we get so far here? I thought the goal was, you know, Nancy, if I have my credentials, you have your credentials, and we duke it out, and the best candidate wins the job. That was the goal, to stop discrimination and all that. But it looks like the pendulum has swung to the other side.
It has swung too far, and activists have taken over medical positions, and they're running the show at these public institutions. And the problem with medicine is that hospital systems are taking over. It's harder for private practices to compete with the reimbursements we have now. So doctors join hospital systems and then have to go along by the rules set with the bureaucrats in those systems. They're too scared to speak out. I am not working currently after I got my board certification. I decided not to practice, and that's one of the reasons why I can appear on this program. I know plenty of physicians who would be.
You guys, your group has exposed this, but how bad is it?
Well, it's really bad. We've been told for years by the left that this isn't going on, and if it is, it's maybe 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds here and there, but it is going on. You're right. In the state of North Carolina, well known, by the way, for its wonderful medical programs, we have Duke, which transitions children at 2. We've got UNC, who transitions children at 3. And then ECU has just added a program that is saturating not only rural health communities, but also schools, and they start at 4. I mean, these big systems cover the entire state of North Carolina, and they're doing it in family medicine. That's right, your corner doctors, their aim is to turn these places into pill mills for children, as young as 2, starting with the social and then moving with the hormones and so forth.
I mean, this is absolutely outrageous. When I read this, ages 2 to 4. Dr. Anderson, I want to talk about what she was talking about with the primary care physicians. So does this mean that ultimately the parents have to take their kids in to do this? I mean, they're 2 and 4. It's not like they're driving there. So is this falling on the parents? And as far as the primary care physicians, are they being threatened to do this, or is this just what they think needs to be done?
No, medicine has become an activist entity. There are activists that are now physicians and medical providers who have radical progressive ideologies, who have no problem with socially transitioning 2, 3, 4-year-olds in gender-affirming care. And just to clarify, these institutions are very specific about the mode of treatment as gender-affirming care, which means that this is a pathway, a highway that you can't get off of. As soon as the child thinks or pretends they might be a different sex, then that must be affirmed. And no questions asked lest you be labeled a transphobe. And there are doctors who are adamant about this type of treatment.
But Dr. Anderson, how in the world is a 2, 3, or 4-year-old questioning their...
What explains this tsunami of anti-Semitism on the American campuses? I admit to you that it takes me by surprise.
It is very surprising, and I think if there's a silver lining out of this whole dark period in recent American history, is that the rank and file American is as shocked as you are. They're looking around and saying, where did this hate come from? But underneath this, we have seen, if you can imagine an iceberg, what has been brewing underneath for more than 20 years is CRT, critical race theory, and DEI. And it has really come to a head in the last 3 years. And what it does is it really, on the surface, it pits each race class against one another. So white males have been the target, straight white males, Christians, and Jews are especially the target of all of this hate. And so we have seen, also immigration policies have brought this on. When Obama came into power, his policies went pretty aggressively to recruiting those from terror-stricken nations who are trained and kind of bred to hate Jews from a very young age. So I think it's a combination of those two things. And now we're seeing the very dangerous effect of those.
During a protest, and I believe this is maybe 4 or 5 days after the second worst massacre of Jews in one day.
Yeah.
What does this flag mean?
Well, I mean, it says it, Intifada, and the Intifada is what we know. It happened, the first Intifada and the second Intifada, when Palestinians, they were fighting Israel and trying to incite violence against Israel. One more, they did it twice, and it was huge. So many people died, so many people got killed, and so many things happened. And again, if you see the map, the whole map, they want the whole land. And this is the problem. People who are doing this, they are not looking for justice. Justice is being fair to everybody. You have to be fair. You have to say things. What are we going to do with the 7 million Jews who live in Israel? If you take the land, let's say we agree, you take the whole land. What are you going to do with them? And what's going to happen to them? This is a real problem. People are not thinking. Okay, you get the land. Hamas get the land. They will rule that place. What are they going to do to people? If Hamas did kill their own people, they killed Palestinians, they dragged the members of Fatah in the streets on motorcycles, they hanged people on light poles, like what happened just a few days ago. They hanged 2 people.
Their own people. I want to interject. Yeah. I mean, if you are Palestinian and you are caught sharing your land or buying your land from a Jew or selling your land to somebody Jewish or having dinner or whatever, they will kill you.
Yeah.
There is no interfaith conversations there, because if they catch you doing that, you are dead.
Yes, and also if they accuse you, just accuse you. There is no due process. If they accuse you of being a traitor, of sharing information, or attacking the resistance, they call it, you are a traitor and you will be killed. And they didn't even bury their bodies. They throw them in a big dumpster. So to make them like an example for other people. This is the kind of ruling that we are calling for. So the people who are in universities in London and America and Sydney and all these places, they are just calling for a genocide for Jews, for Christians, for whoever says no to Hamas.
Right. And so when we see something like this, and I have to tell you, this made me really very upset. This is a paraglider, an invitation to a demonstration using the paraglider. So this is the invitation that went out, I believe, the 9th. Guys, the 7th is the massacre. That 9th, the Monday when Jewish students came back, this invitation went out all across University of North Carolina. Right here. This is incitement.
It's unbelievable. Imagine the paraglider. What did he do to kids when he landed? What did he do to women What did he do to people who were just sleeping in their homes or just singing, having fun in a music festival? What did he do there? These guys, the paragliders, what they did to those people? It's like celebrating after 9/11. Let's say on the 13th of September, you're celebrating or you're asking people to go for a demonstration pro Al-Qaeda, and you are making the planes as your symbol of this protest in the streets. It's the same thing. There is no difference. Imagine doing that in the U.S. just 2 days after 9/11, celebrating bin Laden and his team and making the planes and the Twin Towers as your logo for this protest. It's insane.
Yeah, it is absolutely insane. And to my knowledge, nothing has been done to rein this group in. Nothing. And by the way, as long as I'm still breathing here in North Carolina, you better believe I'm going to continue. My group is going to continue putting heat on these administrators to rein this in. This is insanity. And, why are we surprised that Jewish students and Jewish staff at UNC are intimidated? We're not going to put up with it. From the river to the sea, we know what that means. It means wiping out Jews, as we talked about. Now, this was at GW. Some wise guys thought it would be a great idea to get a projector and put this on the library at George Washington University, a large population of Jewish students. What does glory to our martyrs mean?
The martyr in Islam is the one who kills infidels and goes straight. He gets killed in the process of killing the infidels. So when he gets killed, he gets the highest place in paradise. He's among the first people. So he gets served the 72 famous versions. He gets served the highest place ever. He's next to the prophets and to the holy people in history. That's what martyr means. So if you say glory to our martyrs, it just means simply glory to Hamas members who killed the Jews and got killed in the process. So you are glorifying those terrorists, and you are making it as a something that is should be celebrated, should be projected on the walls, so you can intimidate the Jews. You tell them, I don't care, I celebrate terrorists, and I want them to do more.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. But you know who disagrees with you? Let me show you this. So we have a journalist here, and I'm using air quotes, a professor at Davidson College here in North Carolina. This is a very prestigious college of the best and brightest, really, from all over the U.S. go here, and a Charlotte Observer columnist. And he's writing. So the bottom tweet is Abby Phillip. I don't know her, but she's saying, one of the statements projected was glory to the martyrs. We just saw that. And what this guy's saying is, hey, listen, tomato, some cultures may think it's just a cool thing to say, and they shouldn't be judged for it. What do you think of this?
It's crazy. I mean, I came from that culture. I mean what it. I know what it means, and I know. We used to look at martyrs. And
we know what it means too.
Yes, and I mean, bin Laden now is called a martyr. The guys who did 9/11, they are martyrs. They are because they killed 3,000 infidels, and they got killed in the process. And Al-Qaeda leaders, Ayman al-Zawahiri, al-Zarqawi, the ISIS members are martyrs. So if you say glory to all of those, you are glorifying terrorism. Glorifying terrorism is not okay.
So this guy, Ike Bailey, he thinks that supporting terrorism, I mean, this, by the way, this wasn't a comment. It wasn't a passing thing. This was a doggone billboard. And the purpose, as you said, was to intimidate Jewish students He thinks it's no big deal. He is, these are my words, a disgrace. This is an embarrassment. He is everything that is wrong with academia right now, and some attitudes about terrorism.
If I was a student at that college, and I see even me, not just a Jewish student, I see that projected on the wall, I will not attend that college next day because I will be afraid to lose my life. If you are glorifying martyrs, means you are encouraging somebody to kill me and gets killed in the process, and he has the highest place in paradise. So this is not okay.
Right, because it includes you too, because you're an infidel. Heck, I mean, it especially includes Christians who, object to jihad, I would imagine. And this is another one. And what I'm talking about now is the attitude of this professor and his fellow travelers who think, and what he's saying here is, Liz Wolfe down on the bottom is saying, wow, this is absolutely abhorrent. There are people at Harvard, students at Harvard, intimidating Jews, and high schools intimidating Jews and teachers. And he's saying, hey, they're not intimidating someone. Maybe they just don't like the fact that Israel's committing war crimes and genocide.
Isn't there other alternatives to use? Language, our vocab doesn't have anything to just, for example, if you oppose war, you don't have any other sentences to do that. You run out of words. The only thing that you have is glory to our martyrs. No, words have meanings. And words have meanings, and when you use them, you are purposely using them to get some meaning there. So if they said Israel should stop the war, we call for ceasefire. That's another thing. But glory for our martyrs, give me a break. It means what it means.
Yeah, and he knows that. Look, this is a journalist who he chooses his words very well, etc.
Sloan, you started the show talking about Harvard and your X on your shirt, and I think the rot in Harvard's been evident over years. If you look at the propaganda they're spewing out and what they're spewing out, and the headline was, oh, they're going to remove the president, which just meant that she went to be a tenured. She lost her title. She's still a tenured professor. Her pay didn't go down. Nothing changed. Is there any saving an institution like Harvard? Or is it just too far gone?
I'm not smart enough to know. And I mean that. We have UNC. So we're fighting UNC as well because, and it's no irony that both UNC and Harvard fought like hell to discriminate. Supreme Court just came down in August. So when they get sued, and they're going to be sued, that's going to come up is that, look, you took it to the mat about discriminating. Yes, you did. And so now you're going to do what's called constructively discharging Jewish students and others out of the school. Is there any saving it? Again, I've heard people way smarter than me saying no. But what does that mean? Do you know what I mean? Like, we're in uncharted territories, and I'll put this question to you. Is there a corollary in history that we can, look at and, you know what I mean? Or an analog and see, oh, okay, this particular thing failed and then this happened.
Not really. Nothing that ended well. We've seen a lot of propaganda. We've seen a lot of programming of mass populations. We've seen a lot of demonization, between Jews, and it was MAGA before that. Like, none of that stuff ends well.
Let me also, before I let you go, let our audience know about what you do at Ed First in North Carolina. The link is down at the bottom, edfirstnc.org. But give our audience a clue.
How are we going to draw the line and explain, or how would you explain the difference between anti-Semitism and speech?
So, speech is reasonably straightforward. Harassment is another category entirely. So, it's a basic point. Some of what we're seeing on campuses, You can, write an op-ed in the student paper saying that Israel is horrible, or for that matter, Jews are horrible. You can hold a rally protesting that. What you can't do is, first of all, disrupt other people's events. You can't burst into a Hillel, a Jewish institution, and start disrupting an event that they're holding. That's not speech, that's silencing somebody else. And a lot of harassment is about silencing somebody else. It's not about speech anymore. You're shouting somebody else down. You're threatening somebody else. We've seen at Harvard, Jewish students actually being physically pushed and shoved. You can't make threats. You can't, in general, block people from going somewhere. A lot of this is really harassment. Some of this is not really legally punishable that much in terms of physical assault. You're preventing people from going in and out, or you're shoving them. You're not really shoving them very hard. You're not doing it in a way that's causing serious pain. Well, that stuff is harassment. It creates a climate of hatred. And it makes it very difficult for a particular group to function on campus if there's a sense that they are constantly going to be besieged. If you're a Jewish student and you're walking to class, for example, and you're going to be harassed, you're going to be insulted, at that point, berated, that's not really free speech anymore. At that point, it's targeted harassment. You couldn't do that to your neighbor. You couldn't, if you spend a month every time your neighbor walks out of the front door, you start hurling insults, abuse at them. There's going to be legal intervention at some point, or armed intervention. So this is part of what's going on campus. This is not speech in the sense of, I'm going to write an op-ed. I know I'm going to make a video about this. I'm going to hold a protest rally, but I'm not going to physically interfere with anybody else. If you're really inflicting kind of harassment on somebody else, this is really what we're dealing with. And this is really what Title VI is for. It's about harassment, not just expressing your opinion.
So